Howdy folks, this might hurt your feelings. Totally get it. It hurt mine for a bit until you could say maybe I manned up. I do not believe just yet I qualify the right to say that I am a man, an adult male perhaps, but that's the saying, right? To man up, to take on accountability. And the reason why I procrastinated for so long, which is the topic of conversation, is I lived life as a victim, or I made decisions, let's say I made decisions, or I came from, perhaps this is a better way to say it, I came from the projection of victim mentality, and it's gonna sting. It's gonna sting. That's why I said, this video might hurt your feelings. And there's a very quick and simple indication whether you, I wouldn't say suffering. I'm not a real fan of that word. But if you're caught up, a symptom that will immediately, let's say, diagnose that you are harbouring a victim mentality, is to be quick in defence to anything I just said. Usually it's a yeah but, which usually starts with a yeah but. And that's a very fundamental thing to recognise. And having the consciousness to recognise that is also a good indication you're on the up and up. And from there, it's merely, or simply, a practice. It's a practice of what you know personally you consciously need to do. Because really, procrastination is that it's living in a fear state, being a victim of circumstances, and also being the victim of your own story that promotes the lack of self-belief in your own abilities to do that which you know that you can do. And so I'd say from there it's a true or false, is it not? So I'm in my boat. This is the sitting pelican. Needs a lot of work, but it floats, so that's a good thing. That's what you want in a boat, right? A boat that floats. Float your boat. And I was in that state, that fear state, in that procrastination. Do I, don't I, what if, all of these type of things. Isn't it interesting when I look at it, or when I ponder and think where I once was? And I will do my best to make this a sharing of what I was going through, instead of it being a lecture to say, hey, this is what you need to do. Because I'll leave that up to you. I'll let that be your responsibility. To tune in, have a listen to what I've got to say, what it is that I have to offer, to share with you, and let it then be up to you to take it on board and put it into play, and then reap the rewards from that. Does that sound fair? So I sat in the what if. What if it's too much? What if I don't have enough? What if I don't finish? All the what ifs that eroded and deteriorated leading myself into experiencing the outcome that I truly wanted to have. Does that make sense to you? I waited. I was in the position of, I came from the position of when I get fitter, when I have more money, when I get a better job, or when I have enough money, then I. See, when I and then I. And this morning, on the boat, the wind's kicking up. You might see the tarp flapping up there. That the only person that really needs to wait is a sailor. Because you don't control the weather. And then I was like, isn't that interesting? I've spent a lot of years, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of years waiting for what? There wasn't anything out of my control, really. I've always had the ability and always been in control to lead myself towards the outcomes that are preferable, that were more beneficial to me. So why was I procrastinating then? Good question. Because it was coming from fear base of the unknown. Only because I invested a confidence in the knowing of the unknown, which doesn't make sense, right? Because how can you know of something that you've never known? How can you know of something that you've never known and therefore be able to label it as a possibility in the unknown? Come back to the what if. Oh, what if it doesn't work out? Well, I didn't know that. I only allowed myself to believe that that was a possibility. If someone, well, how do you know that? If someone, well, and then I would probably come up with all these reasons. Then you could keep going, well, how do you know that? Surely anyone with some type of intelligence would eventually say, Well, I don't. I don't know that. I'm just convincing myself of it. Huh. And then, well, why are you convincing yourself of it? And then that's the part where I, and you may, when I realise, damn, well, I'm scared. And then, scared of what? And then when I answered that question, the answer to that question has changed a lot for me. When I said, oh, I'm scared of the responsibilities and efforts that I'll need to take on. How about that? So I could say, oh, well, here is the secret recipe to get over procrastination, is to find out why you're scared of taking on the responsibilities and efforts to lead yourself to where it is that you want to be. And when I say where you want to be, is a reality. It's a realm. It's a realm of experiences where you are now the witnesser, and the experiencer of that realm, where the potential of that exists. The potential of owning an old wooden boat, the potential of going through the responsibilities and efforts to fix up an old wooden boat. And then you could say, well, that would cost a lot of money and I couldn't do it. Yes and no. How do you know that? Well, I read it in a forum or Facebook groups. They're the outcomes of other people's decisions, right? That needn't be mine. So it's a reference point of a potential. It needn't be the ultimately and defined outcome of that potential for me as a witnesser, as an experiencer, as a person leading myself to that realm where the potential exists for me. Anyone following along still here? And that's why this type of video and any other video where someone has the ability just to be truthful, it can sting, it can hurt. And this video, I would need to give a shout out to a friend there who said some words that made me feel quite chuffed. Okay, but I've needed to go through the elements of the conscious self-discovery and the awareness of flaws, where things needed to be improved, and then the symbol acting on that, and avoiding the pie in the sky, not necessarily syndrome, but being overwhelmed by that. And then going back to looking at my reality from a fear-minded state, or a mind in a fear state. Really, it's being a victim. And that stings, because a lot of people don't necessarily realise what that means, right? What that means. They'll have a definition of victim mentality and think, oh, I'm not a victim. that there is actually a little cue that you are coming from a victim mentality, because your immediate response is to deny that. Because it would only be put forward to someone who was showing the signs of it. And the only way you can see the signs is that you've gone through that yourself. Does that make sense? Because it would be the same as you've had a cold, or you've been crook, and you say to someone, "Oh, it sounds like you have the flu or you have a cough," and as we do, we just want to help other people. We want to make other people feel better. So, oh, you should probably get some. Oh no, I don't have a you see, straight away there is a denial instead of an acceptance. Is, you're probably right. What'd you say? Onion, garlic, and roasted beef bones, and just put that in a pot with spring water and let that simmer over. Okay, done. Well, I just got to fill up a cup and sip on that through the day. And what do you reckon? 3 to 4 days I'll start feeling better? You say, yeah, right. It's the doing. That's the part. I spent so much on the sitting. Let me get the words right for this. So let me take my time here for you. I spend a lot of time and a lot of energy, and energy meaning mental and spiritual energy, which probably would have a spillover into the physical. Sitting here in an anticipation of experiencing a reality I didn't want to experience, which was going to deny leading me into the experience that I'd rather have. Come back to the what if. I was too busy in the what if it doesn't, and laying down all of these scenarios, like I said, that was going to erode and deteriorate. That's where I'd rather be. So what's the example? I'm here in the old boat. This is Sitting Pelican. This was an old boat built in around the mid-50s, wooden. So straight away you think, oh, wood, rot, so on and so forth. And what if I've got to do this? Or how much is it going to cost to get hauled out? And which are reasonable things to consider. And how am I going to get it to where I want to get it? And you know what I'm getting at here? Using time and energy here in this moment to deny that moment over there, which I wanted to be in, which I'm now in. But it's like I said, it's taken a long time for me to actually go, hey, that's something that I'd like to be the witness of and the experience of. How do I lead myself to that? Okay, I got to do this, this, and this. Then I can ask the question, well, if I did it this way, what would happen? Okay, it might take me a bit longer, it'll be a bit cheaper, so on and so forth. So yeah, there's still the part where I take on the response to do a little due diligence, as you can say, to analyze things. But that did get me undone a lot of times as well, being over analytical. And selling myself. Here we go. This is very important. I very easily sold myself on the idea of not moving forward with it. Because that's one thing too with the victim mentality, is it's the ego part. You don't want your ego to get hurt or get bruised. You don't want to be judged or criticized by people. And actually, Alex from Horsey said something which is bang on, and I was able to relate to. He said poor people stay poor because they're too scared of being judged for becoming successful by poor people. Ooh. But ain't that interesting? If anything, that would be more encouraging, wouldn't it not? You'd want to get away from those type of people. But once again, I kept selling myself on that story, and comforting. Oh, I tell you, when you start to realize these things, it's sort of funny. It's a little sad, and it's a little silly too, that I was comforting myself in the denial, and in all of the excuses that kept me from taking myself to where I'd rather be. Now that there sounds silly. If you were hungry and you'd been out in the wilderness, and I said, here, it's food, it doesn't taste the best, but it's what I've got. There's a good chance you'll be probably saying, I don't care, man, I'll eat anything, I'm hungry. But that's the part where I was brought up. I was too comfortable. I was too comfortable going nowhere because there was no urgency in my life. I wasn't starving, which is the way it's sort of set up, isn't it? The way society's set up. There's actually probably too many resources if you're in a reasonably developed economical country. There's too many resources at your hand to not actually do anything great for yourself. Sounds silly, right? And that's part of the reason why I did go out on the road. I mean, lost my dad. Well, yeah, my dad passed on and all that jazz. So there's nothing now. There's a nothing. So being a traveller has definitely helped, because it's just you. It's just you. Where are you going next? There's a little bit, don't know. We just keep driving, find it along the way, and we come back to this scenario where you may be where you are right now. It brings up the Grant Cardone saying, don't worry about looking on the map. once you have an idea of what it is that you want or where it is that you want to go, he said, just start. He said, you just start driving. He said, here's an example. There's a place I wanted to go to. I knew sort of roughly where it was. It started heading that way. And when it stopped in for fuel, it'd read a map or ask questions. Oh, hey, I'm going here. Which is the best way to go? And making the refinements. That's a bit like this. That's the part where you lead yourself towards that which you'd rather be the witnesser and experience of. And you refine it along the way, and you alter your direction along the way. And it's the forward momentum. It's the forward momentum. What's that saying that an inch of doing is far greater than miles of ambition or intention? Something along those lines. Bit by bit. Yesterday I thought, I didn't do much. And I'm like, yeah, but you did painting, mate. You did some painting. You did something. You went and checked on the tarp and redid the tarp lines. You folded the washing. If you go over the, there's something that you know that you can do, and then recognize that you did that, and that will help into the next day. It could be like today, it's blowing a gale. Get up here. And I could just say it's cold and it's windy. Let me just hang around the fire. What about this video? Do I do a video? Maybe not. Right. Well, I'm recording the video now, but then do I post it? Maybe. What if people don't watch it? I don't know. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? I don't need people to watch this video for me to keep living my life. I'm just sharing my experiences that may be of assistance, that may aid other people changing the experiences in their life. And if I have the capacity to do that, then is that not something that is of a contribution to the good in the world? Righto, let's do it. And that may help you with the prerequisite is hang on folks, let me just check something here. It is too. Check this out. Oh, very cool. Oi, 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 oi. Oi. Hello. How you doing? Aren't you glad you stuck around, hey? How about that? I thought I could hear the sound of what, dolphins breathing. Well, that was a seal just then. And so that's a good example, and potentially bring the video in to a close. I could hear the sound. Do I ignore it? Do I go and investigate? Oh man, do I don't? Like procrastination, right? Now, how does that come into a victim mentality? Well, that's an interesting one. How to tie that in. But it was a simple doing, right? At the end of the day. Walk 12 feet, go and investigate. It was a pod of dolphins, and as you saw, a seal. So there's that. Maybe there's different types of procrastination. So there's that, but mainly the one I'm referring to is to, for me, living a life that is more fulfilling. And then there's that type of procrastination that I was allowing myself to harbor because I was scared. I mean, at the end of the day, let's change that word. Not scared, but reluctant or unwilling to take on the responsibilities and efforts that I knew I needed to alter the course of my reality. And that's it. That was it. And after that being a very heavily embedded fact, so engraved that you couldn't erode it over millennia. That makes sense. That I just have started to just lean into it, get on with it, because it's the classic one, life in the physical as we know it, right? That's the other part. Don't necessarily know beyond that. So why invest energy into that which is unknown? I'm just giving it away. It's like watering concrete, thinking that, well, something will grow one day. How? You wouldn't do that. You would go, that's just silly. Yeah, that's what I've done. That's potentially what you're doing and many other people are doing. We're just using our resources, our water per se, our creative life force, to nurture that which just is not going to harbour anything but the same. Does that make sense? So like now that I just little message came up there on Facebook, and I said, hey, is after 9 work with you? Can we commit to a time? Was the reply. Well, that person could have just given me a time and said, yeah, 9:15 works fine with me. 9:30 works fine with me. So now it's up to me to take on the responsibility to go, yeah, we can commit to a time. How does 9:15 sound? Because I did say, is after 9 a.m. Listen, is after 9 a.m. does after 9 a.m. work with you? So procrastination think of it as just a toxic substance, a poisonous liquid. I was to give you a bottle of poison, and I said, here, sip on this. You would say, why? And would you and I said, well, because it's going to poison you, and you might as well drink poison if you don't want to do anything with yourself, because it'll slowly kill you, right? Which is pretty much what procrastination is. It's poison in a bottle that we sit on every day. Well, you can't tell me that that's a reality that you want to be the witness of or be the experience of. So how do you get it? Well, you just change what you drink, really, isn't it? How do I get over procrastination? Start doing something that leads you towards where you'd rather be. Like 3 years later is not now. It's 3 years later. That's a distance. You don't know, I don't know what will actually be in this very moment in time 3 years later. Have an idea, but do I have an absolute, definitely, heavily engraved knowing? The only knowing that I can have of that is my ability to sit in the potential, in the potential that I will like to be the witness and experiencer of. And I know that I can do that for at least 15 minutes a day. Does that make sense? So I know that I can do that. I know that I have the ability to sit in the pondering of being the witnesser and the experiencer of a potential that I would like to have. Other than that, everything outside of that is a bit like the weather. I don't control that. And like I said, the only person who really has you could say, the liberty or the need to wait is a sailor. For the weather, for weather conditions to be at the most optimal, because that's just how it works. For example, because there's certain elements, fiberglassing is a perfect example, but there's certain things that you can do to aid in it, but if it doesn't reach the elements that are required for fiberglassing to cure correctly, then you just can't do it. You need to wait for those elements to be in alignment to do to do good fiberglass. So then you go, okay, that's out of the question for the moment. What else? And it's a what else? It becomes a what else instead of a what if. Or even a what if can be turned around to, well, what if I did that today? Yeah, okay, we can do that today. Or I can do that today. Let's do that. And then there's the good feeling at the end of the day, or when you're sitting down, you're having something to eat, or you know, it's time to watch a movie, and you're like, hey, I'm glad I did that. You know, like looks like my eyes are closed, but they're just open faintly, you see. So even just a small amount is something. Right, so I best get back reply to this chap and get on with my day. But take that on board, and little videos like this, I know that there's heaps of them. I'm not the only one doing videos like this. Just come back, revisit, maybe clip it on your phone and revisit it, nurture and embrace that goodness that already exists within you. And that's why you're tuning into this type of content. There's that music inside of you. Please play me. Please dance with me. Alright, yeah, I need to go and check on stuff. It's getting windy here. So thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you. So be good, be great, be brilliant, be the best that you can, and do what it is that you know you can do to lead yourself to having a better life. Cheers.